Right. Double check in 3, 2, we're good to go. All right, so welcome everybody. I'm just going to get back to the proper screen here. There we are. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for jumping on here. We are good to go. This thing will tell me if something happens otherwise. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that's catching us live, or if you're catching us on the replay, that's awesome as well. Let's share our love with Annette. She has been through, wow, basically is how when she first sent me the chapter of the book that she allowed me to read, I couldn't show it to anybody. And I wanted to because it had so much sustenance to it that I wanted to share it with my wife. I wanted to share it with colleagues elsewhere. Thank you. So I really encourage each one of you that hear my voice right now to go to Amazon. We'll give you the link in the feed at the end. Go and order 10 books. Get one for yourself and spread the love, because there is tons of value that she's brought to the table. So I'm going to start with her bio. So here we go. Leaving home at 15 was a tough choice, but Annette did exactly that. She taught herself how to be a grown-up as best she could. I haven't grown up yet, so I'm still learning. At 20, she found herself pregnant and in a relationship to a man who didn't love her. Ouch. Their attempts at making it work were futile, and they ended up divorced 5 years later. At which time, and I feel you there, I lasted 6 years. So at which time she found her soulmate, Brian. With Brian, they lived a life that movies are made of. And to be honest, that chapter that she sent me was about that love life. And I seriously thought it was like watching some, Disney movie, because it was picture perfect. However, 10 years of marital bliss came to an abrupt halt when, in the middle of the night, my fear, she was awakened to the news of Brian's plane crashing while he was extinguishing forest fires. He's one of those guys that was going out keeping our homes and our properties and our lives and our forests safe, yet he gave his life for that. So hats off to both him and to Annette. With her world crashing down with his, she managed to find faith to overcome. With heavenly intervention, she was married 6 months later to the best guy I know. That's a shout out for Kevin there. To a man she barely knew, though. I guess I've known Kevin longer than you there. They miraculously now married to Kevin. They live a new chapter of love and laughter. Her story is truly a story of hope, a story of resilience, a story of miracles. And that demonstrates that our lives can be more than we ever expect they can be. So I want to share just one testimony here, and it's because it's the one I gave. This book did not allow me to put it down. When I finished the first chapter, I ached to read more, and I seriously did. It was like, I don't know if you guys remember back in the day when you couldn't watch all episodes of a series. You actually had to wait weeks per week, and then if there was a hockey game or some government thing going on, you had to wait 2 weeks to find out what happened. That's how I felt. I ached. By sharing her tender recollections of her late husband, Annette inspired me to be a better husband, and not just a warm and fuzzy and forget about it variety. You know, I'm going to do it, and then 10 days later you forget. I'm still trying to implement what she has taught me. A true desire for growth led me to implement changes the very next day with my own wife. I watched what I said and saved the day. Thank you, Annette, for opening up your heart and inspiring the world through your tears. So, Annette, I want to give you a minute here and just share your story, from your kind of perspective, obviously not the whole book, but your perspective of life and how you kind of came into the whole situation, I guess.
First of all, thank you. Thank you for reaching out for this interview. My story. Well, this book is, we can call it the Brian section rather. Talks about relationships and how to make them great. And then obviously tragedy. No one ever can tell when their life is going to change, and then building resilience. So this book is really a lot about building resilience, being able to, it didn't happen overnight, but there were elements overnight that would heal and form me into who I am now. And then, yeah, starting a new chapter that was completely not something I ever expected when I got married to Brian, that this is, now I would be married to Kevin and be happy. So that's, yeah, summing it up in 20 seconds or less.
Wow, thank you so much. And I know it's hard to share without giving away the book. So the questions I've decided to ask hopefully will help us to illuminate enough of the book and who you are as a person to be able to get that curiosity, so that people will go out and not only just, you know, buy the book, but to implement the things that you are trying to live day to day. So I'm going to start with an easy question. What prompted you to write a book? Have you always wanted to be an author?
Growing up, actually, I had so many people say, oh my goodness, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. You need to write a book. And so I had started, but then I was meditating and praying and asking, what's my next step? What's my next step? Because it was one of those books, you know, that you just sort of, you start writing and you get to it when you can, and thinking, well, maybe my kids will read it one day. And then I felt very strongly that I needed to take that section out and share it with the world and help even just one person. I know there's one person out there, at least one, that needs to hear something in my book that will help them out. Yeah.
Wow, awesome. Now this is, I didn't tell you about this story. This, I'm just checking out comments here, because if there's some questions, I want to be able to answer them. I can't see, we'll work with that as you're talking. I've thought about writing a book too, but I get this kind of like, who am I to write a book? Kind of like, who cares about my voice? I get it doing these lives. Like, who's going to listen to Ben Anderson? Who's he, right? Was there something specific, and I didn't prep you on this question, I apologize, well, I don't apologize. But was there something that helped you to overcome that self-doubt, that feeling of, it's called the imposter syndrome?
No.
Okay, good.
While writing it, this probably ties into another question that may be rolling off your tongue. While I was writing it, I truly felt like I was sharing with a friend or just writing in my journal. I found it very easy. I didn't feel like I ever wrote this book all by myself. I did feel like I had inspiration, heavenly help, you know, help from the universe, because everything fit together. You know, I found old journal entries and I found old pictures, and within a very short time frame. And so as I wrote it, it was very intimate. It was very real. It was very me. And that part wasn't hard. Now is the hard part. Now is the part where I get so nervous, because I'm so vulnerable on my pages and I'm sharing that with the world. I'm not writing it in any other way than a friend to a friend. Yeah.
Wow. And that is why, that in a nutshell, to everybody that can hear my voice, is why I can't think of the words, why everybody should read this book and put it into practice, because it's coming from a place of sincerity, a place of, yeah, the friend to the friend, the genuine, caring, intimate, honest advice. And I guess that does lead to another question of mine. I've had times in my world that it's come crashing down, and the first place or person that I go to blame has always been, why me? Like looking up at heaven and like, what did I do? I did this, I did this, I did this. What? I don't deserve this, right? Like I put in the formula what you've asked, and I'm not getting out the other end what I deserve. And then I come to the point that I, humble myself. So my question is, when somebody's in that part of the journey where life sucks,
yes,
what advice, other than, just keep going, right? What advice from your heart can you share?
when I was going through the yuck, the suck, I needed him more than anybody. And that's not when I said, why me? That's where I really leaned on him as a friend, because I had nowhere else to go. My entire foundation just was no longer, right? So everything, all the dreams, all the plans, everything were now gone. And so I needed to know where do I go? What's next? I needed to know that my answers were coming from the right source. It was when the dust settled, when I was able to reflect and not count my blessings, and not completely out of all of it, but out of the hardest part. That's when I started to blame. And that really stopped my progression. That really stopped the feeling loved and blessed. And that was a choice that I made, and I shouldn't have gone there, but it's a natural human reaction. So then as soon as I was able to apologize and move forward and realize that everybody has trials. Everybody has trials. Mine is no different. Maybe what I've gone through is different, but the feelings that I go through are the same as what someone else can go through. We're all alike in this journey. We're all struggling. And so, yeah, then I had to not be mad anymore.
Right. Well, thank you. That goes to show what kind of person you are, being able to recognize the difference. For me, it took a long time to get to that place of humility, but you're right that as soon, and if anybody takes anything from what you just said, I would hope it would be something to the effect of, when you learn to turn your life over to a supreme being, or whatever that means for you, that's when it happens for you. Whether it's to write a book, whether it's to successful business, whatever it is, that's when it clicks, is when you let go of trying to control your life and start to let your life happen. So, well, thank you for that. What about the times when you are in, so you're in the grind, you are married to an amazing woman like I am, Nicole. She'll hate me for saying her name on live. She hates that. But you have the potential for a fairy tale marriage, for a fairy tale story. Yet the day-to-day, not the trials, but the day-to-day just, mundane actions, getting ready for work, getting the kids off to school, pressure, getting on here on time, just everything. And then somebody says something, so you're already short of temper. And then somebody says something, maybe they're not thinking straight either. What advice would you give to somebody that is in that space before they react?
So now it's as though I'm perfect, and we don't have those moments. We have those moments. Well, when you're in the heat of that, it is difficult to take it back. So preparing beforehand, I suppose, is a big one. But even in the moment, just taking a minute to go, oh gosh, I'm sorry, and recognizing, I feel in our family, recognizing that you're upset with the circumstances, not the person. So then you say, I'm sorry, that wasn't directed to you. And I love how you were saying about wanting the fairy tale. I love that. It's so attainable. I really believe it's attainable. And those day-to-day moments, maybe I'm reading more into the question, but this life can be long. When I thought about, and maybe I'm going off on a different tangent, but
Keep going.
I was 35 when Brian passed away. And I had a lot of outside pressure to continue to mourn, and believe me, I still have my mourning moments, and I did not jump into a new life without mourning. It doesn't happen that way. But that I needed to be this person for them, that I needed to be sad and gloomy and never move on with my life, or not so quickly. Them, of course, not understanding what the needs of our family were and where we were getting our counsel. So I was young, and I had, if I lived to be 100, that's a long time to be sad and miserable. And I don't want to live a life like that. So when I incorporate the elements that I learned from being married to Brian into what I have with Kevin, and now same as you, I'm putting his name, but his name's in the book, so it's okay. Doing lots of little things means so much. Dancing in the kitchen. I don't know if you do, we dance in the kitchen. It doesn't matter if there's a song on. You just dance in the kitchen. Holding hands whenever you can, complimenting, taking all those precious moments that you did probably when you were dating. Keep doing them. Yeah. Keep doing them. And you'll end up having a greater marriage than you thought you could have.
Amazing. Absolutely. Keep courting after you got the catch, right? Yes. It's hilarious and everything else. Like you catch a fish, you got to keep it from jumping back in the water, right? So just because you are married does not mean the romance should stop. And I'm not talking like movie romance. I'm talking just a day-to-day, you are human, I'm human, let's connect every day in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. Okay, so now you touched on it a little bit. Keeping it with Kevin, keeping the, making the little things count. What about if my wife doesn't want to? My wife does, just to clarify that. But what if you're in a relationship where it has gone kind of dry, and then suddenly you want to put the spice back in, and your spouse is like, "What are you doing?" Mm-hmm. Any advice on that?
I can't speak for every person because everybody has their freedom to choose.
Yeah.
But I do know there was a shift with Kevin and I when I put more effort in, from grieving and relying on him to, oh, I want to invest in this relationship more. And a lot of it was my intention. So instead of doing things because I knew it was the right thing to do, but not being pleasant about it, and changing it to, oh, you know what? I want to put toothpaste on his toothbrush because he hasn't brushed his teeth yet, because I love him, or watching, and I think I mentioned this too in my book, mini thoughts, I call them, and appreciating the things that they do that may be taken for granted.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you for cutting the grass. Like, that took you a long time. Thank you. Oh, thanks so much for taking out the garbage. And finding places to appreciate, to compliment, to take notice, and change those thoughts instead of being, oh, he's finally taking out the garbage, to, wow, I know he's really busy and he took it out. Thank you. And changing the love that you feel inside, and then that will reciprocate. Now, maybe that other person may not accept it right away, but over time, I do believe that there will be change.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. You just taught me something. A little light bulb just went on. If I had an emoticon, I would put a light bulb above my head right now. Nicole does that. And I think this is something I need to learn. Nicole recognizes when I do something because you're busy and that sort of stuff. So I, as a spouse that just got recognized, needs to reciprocate that, but also be thankful, not just out loud, but in my head, rather than finally you noticed, right? But keep it real, be honest, keep those little thoughts real. That's huge. Second thing I'd like to share quick. I'll be quick because this is your limelight. When I'd gone through my first adventure and I was dating again, I was looking for this perfect, I had a list of attributes I wanted my future wife to have. And I was looking for this perfect wife, and whoever I found, it just wasn't working. I had a person that, really wise person said to me, you know, stop trying to fill the attributes and become the attributes. So I've stopped trying to fit somebody into that book, and I started trying to write that book so I would attract that kind of person. So I would assume it would happen whether you're with somebody, looking to be with somebody, or I've been with somebody forever, and you're trying to get that spice back in the relationship. To start, if you want your spouse to be more romantic, be more romantic. If you want them to take out the garbage, maybe don't take out the garbage, but do what you need to do. You know, make sure the dishes are always done, or whatever your responsibilities are. Make sure those are done. So enough of me. Oh, I got questions all over my room here. Let's go here. And this might be a little touchy, and Kevin might beat me up later for this, but and maybe I should be asking him this question. Was it difficult, from your point of view, for Kevin to fill those boots? For Kevin to step in, and because I know you had the issues, but basically he was stepping into a fairy tale relationship to replace somebody that was irreplaceable, basically, and to do it in a manner with kids on board. And we all know that on both sides, right? Like we know that that's tough. So what, from your perspective, was it tough for Kevin to step into those boots?
Was it tough for Kevin, or was it tough for me having Kevin? So Kevin stepped into the role perfectly. However, I made it hard on him. I made it really hard. And that just shows you what kind of a person he is, that he could handle it. He could handle it. Yeah, for the longest time, there was that comparing. And then it shifted and became more of recognizing the differences and accepting, oh, okay, well, Brian held my hand like this. And instead of being upset that Kevin didn't hold my hand like Brian, I would start to pay attention and say, oh, this is the way Kevin holds my hand. So instead of a tight squeeze, he will play with my fingers. And that's okay. And recognizing these differences, and sometimes there would be similarities. And at first it would just make my heart ache, longing for what was gone. But now I find it very endearing that there could be two men who could have similar ways to love me and differences. And so, oh yeah, he really stepped up. He really stepped up. But yeah, it was difficult. I didn't make it easy.
I wonder how many of us make it difficult for our better halves. Maybe we haven't been through that kind of relationship struggles, but make it difficult because we have an expectation of how they should be acting, and they don't fulfill that expectation. So yeah, I like what you said about noticing and appreciating how he did certain things. And yes, it's different, but the difference is good. The difference is welcome. The difference is healthy. Okay, I'm going to skip over that question. We have about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you, how do you love without feeling or being afraid to be hurt again?
I love
How do you give your all? Give your all.
Well, when you're loving and you're not giving your all, you're already miserable because you're already feeling that lack, right? And you're yearning for something you don't have. So why not give it all you have? You have nothing to lose. And if that person ends up leaving, you can feel confident knowing you gave everything you had, and you will have no regret, no remorse, no guilt. I think you should still do it.
Boom. Pew! Mic drop. Absolutely. I love it. I'm not even going to add to that. That was perfect. That's really how we should live our life with every relationship, right? Not just a love relationship, but every relationship in our life. be present and give it your all. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So one last question. How does it end? So I read one chapter and I'm itching to know, how did it end?
I think that readers will be pleasantly surprised. I do feel they will be surprised at how things unfolded. And yeah, that's definitely, after the book launches and people start to read, I look forward to the shock. Yeah.
So how do I be your first customer?
Here we go. Hey. Yeah.
Yes. So any closing words before I kind of wrap up?
I'm looking for that person who will, and they may never ever tell me, but the book is going out for somebody, at least somebody who needs it. And yeah, that's all. Like, read the book. There'll be some book signings, speaking events. Yeah. Amazon, October 29th. And then in our local area, we will have a book signing.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. So what I will do as soon as we get off here, I have a couple links here. If it's okay, I'll put it in the feed. Your Instagram, your official, and is there an actual Amazon link yet, or just go on Amazon and we'll look for, I'll put the title of the book so that people know what to look for.
Yeah, put the title of the book. Our launch date is the 29th, and so there will be more details to follow.
Okay, and whatever details she feeds me, I will put it on my feed as well, so it will come to you. Okay, so in closing, thank you so much, Annette, for sharing your heart, for letting me in a little bit with that one chapter that's torturing me right now, and for your great example. Your answers to these questions, I think we could all feel came from your heart, and I have a feeling that whole book came straight from your heart. Yeah. So thank you so much for letting us in, and I'm going to continue to watch. So there will be possibly, maybe, an after launch live interview if Annette will let me.
Yes.
Okay, and then we'll go from there. So thank you everybody for jumping on here. If you found value in this, please share. Let us know where you're coming in from in the comments. We will be posting this. I believe I can do it right away to Annette's feed, and then feel free to share it after that. So let's let the world know that there's still goodness in here, and not just goodness, but people that are thriving and making a difference in this world. And let's go do that together. So let's go share it with the world. Thank you. Take care, Annette. And I don't know if Kevin's around there, but see you, buddy. All right, talk soon.